Hello, everyone. My name is Eduardo Marnes, and this is AgilityTalks. Today, we have as guest Federico Vargas. He is the director of PMI Global Accreditation Center and also owner of the GE360 Management Consulting. Welcome, Federico.
Hello, Eduardo. How are you? It's a
I'm
pleasure
fine.
to be here.
How about you?
Good. A bit hot here down in Costa Rica right now, but
It's fantastic.
you're not playing.
We are Latins, right? So we love heat. Even here in Canada, it's hot right now, so I'm loving that.
Caribbean weather. Yeah.
Here we go. So, how we start these things is first your elevator speech, so you can go on.
Okay. So should I go right away?
Yep.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here sharing this Agility Talks with Eduardo and everyone who's listening about a topic that actually it's one of my passions. You know, I run a company organization which has a mission of transforming the world. That's our purpose, and everything we do, whether it is consulting or training, Fortune 500 companies, governments. All over the place. We are very lucky to do and have the chance to do that globally. We do it for that single purpose of transforming the world and creating a better one for everyone. And I believe that, you know, project management and enterprise project management is the tool to transforming things, and agility is part of that. And business agility, the opportunity or the capability of organizations to adapt, to change, to transform. It's essential for that matter. So it is a thing that I talk every day with every. I mean, the only days I don't talk about that is over the weekends because my wife will kill me if I'm talking about that. But you know, on a daily basis on my media, LinkedIn, even in Instagram, sometimes I share that. And all the companies and customers that we serve, it is a matter of and different groups that I'm in globally involved. It is what we talk about.
It's really a great pleasure. We are lucky to have you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I mean, it's great that we got to get connected by this particular media as well and this environment. So I'm thrilled to be here.
So can you tell me a little bit about the core values of your company?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. As we told you before, we have a purpose, and that purpose is transforming the world. Our core values, I mean, it's very interesting when we were redefining those values, when we redefined our purpose, because originally we didn't have a purpose. We had a mission, as most organizations do. You know, we had a mission of being the best consulting firm, the TED consulting firm in the Central America region and in the Latin America region and this and that. But then with time, it was really interesting because we started working towards organizational happiness, organizational productivity, and all that. And we were doing a lot of things. And about 5 years ago, I had an intervention made by my management team. They came to me and said, listen, we're talking about this agility. We're talking about people. We're talking about happiness. And we are all miserable here.
Wow, fantastic.
And that was, it was very blunt, but it was like that. And it was what I needed. You know, it was like, okay, yes, if you're miserable, then we're all miserable. This is not what we're doing the things for. That's when we actually started working out. We started doing a couple of working sessions. We ended up with values that a lot of people think they're not values. For example, family is one of them.
Wow.
And because we understand that family, we are a family and we should have a family, but our families are key to what we do on a regular basis.
For sure. Like work-life balance is in the hood of everything. And also in agility, like treat your team as a family is what makes sense. Really caring about each other, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we have that. We got to that purpose of transforming the world as the main driver for us. Everything that we do has to align with that, and cannot violate our values. And we have, which is family one. The other one is being blunt and honest. I mean, if I have something that I don't like or feel that you did something
let me know
let me know right away. Not on my back, not to others, not in an email, not in a face-to-face. Right now it's a bit difficult with the COVID situation, right?
For sure.
You know,
Zone it.
Exactly. And honestly, the other thing is honestly in service. We believe, and once we did that, it became amazing because all of the conversation, most of the conversations with our customers became and stop being about pricing. You know, it was really interesting. We are providing a service. We understand that we are not the cheapest ones. We're not the most expensive ones as well. And we understand that we can have a price conversation with the customer based on the needs they have and based on the budget they have. But it is not a matter of if somebody, we have learned through the process that if somebody comes and says, listen, this other organization is charging us half of what you're doing, then we'll probably say, well, then you go with them. And
for sure.
But we're here to provide a service to you, and we understand that this has a cost. And it is a different conversation if you come and and if you're blunt with us, aligned with our values, and say, listen, we don't have that much money. We have this. What can we do with this? And then we'll probably manage to.
It's a different kind of conversation, right?
It's a different kind of conversation.
But
we didn't have those values before. Our values before were like the same values you see everyone, honesty, teamwork, yada, yada. And I'm sorry.
I've been talking to a company today, and I'm seeing a lot of companies placing agility as a value, but when you actually go to the core, they do not even know what agility is. So this is really interesting.
Yeah, and to be also completely honest, when we started this internal transformation process with us, we were not that into agility at the time. It was so we were already delivering training in Scrum and understanding agility as well, but we were not. I mean, organizations were not being transformed as they are right now.
Yep, for sure. So based on that,
but it was an interesting transformation.
I think that we can go through the key values of agility based on the Alma framework, and we'll see how agility is doing for your company. Sounds good?
Sounds perfect.
So let me share my screen real quick, and we go from there. Okay, so as we talked before, and as you know, I developed a framework called Alma that really is a framework to measure agility within the companies, and it's based on 4 agile values that I believe are key to agility. So let's go with them. So the first one is accountability. So the idea here is to describe who is perceived as accountable in your company. Because, accountability is something that is really important in terms of agility for people not just feel that they're responsible for something, but they know that they own something. And owning is much more than responsibility. It's like having that in your heart and be responsible for what happens with that. So how do you think you guys are in terms of accountability? What level you guys are?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. I mean, we're a small business organization. We are 20. Well, it varies depending on the amount of projects that we have, because we are a project-based organization.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we do. So we are in between 21, 25 amount of people there. But it's really interesting because we were having this conversation previously, which is interesting. It is at all levels. Yeah. And I believe it has to start with the board member.
For sure.
And in order for the other levels to get there.
Yeah, kind of cascade that down to the other levels, and that's the idea of the framework.
Exactly. Yeah. And being a project-based organization where we have endeavors with our customers that are very well-defined in contracts, at that level, I think the accountability is, I wouldn't say it is straightforward, but there are tools to enforce, if you want to call it. It is not, but the thing it is, as we mentioned before in our values, which align to this particular one, for us, it shouldn't be enforced. But we understand but we understand that we are accountable to our customers. We go back to our mission and to our purpose. It is like we serve others. Of course, we have a contract. Or of course, they're paying for our service. But it is our duty to serve. And then again, it is at all levels. And we try to lead by example and do that. It is like, I understand that I'm not accountable a lot of times. And having simple tools that allows us to work and
accountability always comes with trust, right? Because you need to trust your team to actually be accountable for what they're doing, right? But it's really owning their things. So you think that on that, like, not only on the team leadership level, but you're at the people level too. Like people are really accountable and know why they're doing the things.
Mm-hmm. And we face a lot of things, and being completely honest, I mean, we do things globally. We're lucky enough to do projects all over the place with organizations in the U.S. and Europe and as well. But I mean, most of our teams are Latin American people, and we have a culture. So it is,
yep.
And we have to face that. A lot of times we feel we get to that point of hearing someone says that is not mine.
Yeah, and it's not true. It's always everyone's.
Exactly. So then we go to that particular value. Okay, I didn't like that. I don't believe that is yours, and I should come straight forward and say, well, listen, if you don't think that is yours, you should bring it up. Not do the other thing around, which is what you mostly see.
Exactly.
That is, I just do it and put it there.
And being accountable for that, because we all have an end goal, right? But you should be accountable for your part. For sure. This is great. So let me put a 4 here in your graph. Let me take you out of here. Oh,
that's me. That's me.
So we're putting a 4 in your graph for accountability. Cool. Let's get to the other value, that is learning. And learning here is much more about implementing a learning culture and not just thinking that you're actually learning from your mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like some companies have I have formal training. I have some cycle reviews, or I have some process reviews that we do in a 2-month basis or something like that. So the idea of the maturity process here is, okay, we start with formal training and then go to some cycle reviews, then bake that into the process. And the best level would be, okay, we establish a learning culture in terms of actually living space, and that's a term that I really love here that's called psychological safety. You know what I mean? Having an environment that you're safe to fail, and you can learn from your mistakes. So having places where people can share their failures, storytelling, and this kind of things is what it really makes a very interesting learning culture. So how you think your organization is in terms of that?
Yeah, well, I was reading it, and I want to be a critic about what we do and what we don't do. I can tell you, I mean, we are, and this is not bluffing. I mean, we are rather a very agile organization because we have to adjust, and the fact that we are not that big allows us to do that.
Not much. We have a faster way, right?
We have a division which is aligned with the standardizations. We have a whole bunch of ISO things and processes and that in there for quality. But we do a lot of testing of the things that we have. We launch minimum viable products to the market, and I could show you a portfolio. Out of that portfolio, there are probably 40 or 50% of the things they have never sold. They're there. They were created. They were tested. We believe it is a good product, but it is there. And some
kind of experimentation culture, right?
Exactly. And some other products, and when I talk about products, I talk about our learning division or training division, because that has packed products. That most of them, the ones that are trendy or that are horse battles, battle horses that we call. The one that we have, we created it about 2.5 years ago, and we launched it, but it started popping and getting traction about a year ago. And now it is what most actually we do on a regular basis in houses and companies, but it was not ready at the time. So we had to pivot it and we have to change it. So I would be lying if I'll tell you that we don't learn in what we do. But then again, it's really hard. I don't want to say a 4 because I don't know it is, and because we don't have reviews baked into the process. That's to be completely bluntly honest with you. We do cycle reviews, and we are a learning organization. But I don't know. I would probably go in between the 2 and the 4. The 3 is not the answer, but I mean, to be completely honest, I would probably go for a 3.
Okay, cool. So let's place a 3 there. Like the difference here is like, and in a learning culture, like for the 3 or the 4, like or reviews baked into the process is like we are able to really have continuous improvement and measure continuous improvement, and that's the change for that between 2 and 3. And between 3 and 4 is like these things are so inherited in the company culture that people have spaces to share mistakes. People have spaces to share anything that they would like in terms of improvement, like having guilds, things like that. So this is kind of the change
Yeah,
between 3 and 4.
I would say that we people do have that, but then being again completely honest, I believe that and I would probably be us in the leadership roles that are failing in, as you were putting it, the psychological safety.
Yep.
They don't feel safe enough to do it, although when they do it, they don't get neither criticized, neither or whatever, or a bad reaction to that. But for whatever reason, it is like the psychological safety is not completely there. So that's the reason why I would tell you it's probably a 3 rather than a 4. So
sounds very good. So let's get there. It's a 3. Good. Okay, the next value is motivation. And motivation is really linked to a vision and how you actually translate the vision to your team. So in everything they do, your team do, how you actually translate that to your teams, like being able to identify your vision with the action items that will contribute to that. So this comes from no vision. And then we have a vision somewhere, means no one knows what it is. Then that 3 would be, we'll always talk about that, like upper management. And then on a 3, it would be like on more on a T level, like team leadership has achievable goals, so we're already able to translate that vision into achievable goals that will contribute to the vision. And 4, it will be much more like everyone knows what it is and how they can contribute. What is their part on that? So what do you think?
Okay, based on the conversation that we had previously, when if you were to ask me this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would probably say we're in 1 or in 2, right? We go to a customer and say we want to be this organization, but you know that intervention and it is I have a big scar in my heart for that, but it is one that I share. It is I really.
And this is actually how we learn, right?
Exactly.
The learning value.
I would probably go for a 4 there because I think cool. It's. But
so,
then again, we would say no to we would say no to businesses. We would say no to opportunities, and the team is encouraged to do that if it doesn't align with our purpose. So, I think and we have been happier. I'm certain that we're not always happy. That we have been happier since that has happened. So
really, when you ask your teams why they're doing these things, they certainly don't. Right?
They do. They do. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's go with 4. And the last one will be autonomy. And the interesting thing about autonomy is like autonomy is really the epitome of agility. Like really when this whole agility thing started, like with Scrum, like autonomous teams and all these kind of things, like this is really like, okay, my team is trusted, all of the other values are balanced, and we really have people that are trusted to make decisions, are accountable for the decisions, know why they're doing the things via motivation, and they're still learning with their mistakes. So it's a kind of the epitome on that. Like it really copes with all of the other values. So if the other values are not right, you'll never get your autonomous thing here. So again, it starts from the scratch. No one, just the boss, upper management only, higher management, team leadership, and everyone. So what do you think here?
I would, as the CEO organization, I would love to say, well, you know, it's a 4. Everyone has the autonomy to do whatever they want.
You would love that they were there, right?
yeah, but I would have to say that we're at a 3, and sometimes even we might even go to 2 when you hear someone saying, well, listen, can you approve this? And you will go back like, you don't need my approval for this. I mean, you are not only encouraged.
You touched exactly in a good point here, because autonomy here is like not like do whatever you want. It's not chaos. Autonomy here is like
it's around decision making, right? It's around
decision making, and also around how you use that indicator to see where you need to work with your company. So if you're right now telling me like sometimes it's a 2, and you're going back and say, come on, you do not need me to do that, to make that kind of decision because I trust you. This is exactly why this value is a purpose, why you have this indicator, and why you can work with your company indicating what the areas that you need to work on. So this was a great example, right? So you need to work on autonomy here. If you go from a 2 to a 3 to a 4, there's really full autonomy, like telling your team and making them aware that they are trustable to make decisions. And also they're accountable for decisions that they made, right? So it's all two-way via.
So yeah, I would love to say a 4. Sometimes it is a 2. So probably we are around the 3.
Here we go. Yeah. So let's place a 3 there and take a look at your Alma.
And you will share this with me, right? So I can share
For sure.
Our Alma.
I will share. So here we go. So as we are Latins, we know that Alma is the Portuguese and Spanish word for so. And the idea of the framework is really like giving you a diagnostic on where you are. So just looking into that, I see that you guys have still some things to do on the learning part. So work on like having more spaces for people to fail and enhance that. Like I had a CEO that asked me how I would start a learning culture. And I told him like, start you sharing a failure that you made. Start being vulnerable, right? And focus on what you learn with that, right? And this made totally difference in his life. Like people seeing you as vulnerable, as someone that they can trust, and someone that fails as everyone, and focus on the learning part of that is really what makes difference. And also on autonomy part, like we talked a little bit about that in this last valley. Still some work to do on the autonomy part, like making people know that they're accountable for the decision and that they are trusted to make the decisions.
And you know, it's really interesting. It's very insightful. You know, there are 2 things. We being a consulting firm that transforms the world, you know, you transform things by learning, right? I mean, it's part of the change process or change management process, if you want to call it. So we are a learning organization in a way, and we need to improve that. And it is really interesting. The other thing is, based on your comment, I'm all about vulnerability. I mean, and it's, to me, that's the most important trait of a leader, right? It's like showing yourself, the true self, not knowing, embracing failure and understanding that you're not going to be successful every time, and yada, yada, and all the different things. So it's really interesting to see, okay, we have to work in this thing that I share. If you go through my LinkedIn, you will see the word vulnerability shows up.
Fantastic.
And we have to
align with that.
And yeah, but the fact is, it aligns with what we have to work. So it is really interesting. And the other thing, it goes along with the same thing as being vulnerable to say, well, listen, there's room for you to grow here. There's room for you to, and for you, I mean my people, and of course, in that process, I will grow myself as well. But it's saying, okay, there's room for more autonomy. There's room for there's a space for growth. As I see here, is like those blank spaces around the blue zone that we have. I see it is light blue, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
Those spaces in white are growth. I mean, growth opportunities, which is great. I mean, there should always be space for growth. And I'm certain that, and I'm completely certain that a lot of times we are not in a 4, neither in accountability or motivation, you know, but I mean, yeah, we're closer there, you want to call it. But
exactly. And agility is all about acknowledging the things and always striving to improve, right? Exactly. Because there are always up and downs, and you need to keep working on these values every day. This is the mission of the leadership here, for sure.
Yeah. So, well, then it's been really cool, really cool. It's very insightful. I really like it. I would love the image, so I can share it. And
for sure.
This is GE360's Alma, and then again, I will probably get some feedback from my team. We've done a similar exercise, not with the Alma framework, of course, but the different members of the leadership team. and the maps were different.
And the
Of
good,
course, because we all have different views, right? It's
exactly.
and perceptions. But in
And
some
the good
things,
thing
we're
about
very
Alma
much.
is that you can actually start with your teams, plot different graphs, and see how different levels at the company sees that.
Exactly.
And you have the clues that you're really looking for.
Exactly. No, and it's really cool. It's really interesting, and I see it as a very simple framework or a very simple picture for you to be able to understand where are you in this agility journey, if you want to call it. Because
exactly,
I had a workshop yesterday, a working session with a major medical devices company in the UK, the leadership team and starting their agile journey, and one of them asked about how do we know where we are. And I said, well, you need to assess yourself. And I didn't mention the Alma, but we hadn't had this conversation, to be completely honest,
Exactly.
But I can tell you that I will go back with them and I will tell you, well, listen, you can do this little assessment. It'll take you 5 minutes. You can do it with your team. I can guide you through it if you want to. And then we'll have the picture and say, this is where you have to work. Because there are other frameworks, but there are like 20 different.
Yeah.
The spectrum is too wide.
When I actually developed Alma, my idea was to make that simple and to the most important values within agility. There's a lot of maturity frameworks for agility there that are based on like what you do with your development team. Are you guys in continuous delivery? Are like some things that are much more technical than the true source of agility that is much more
which is not aligned with the way I perceive agility as a mindset, a way of being. It is your way of being is based on your values. As we started this conversation, what are the values of your organization? You can use all the tools in the world if you want to. You can use all the practices. You can have everyone certified. You can have all the processes in place. But if you don't have the values, and I can tell you,
it doesn't work.
We were talking about my own organization. We did have a mission. We did have the processes. But we were doing it for the money. So it was not aligned with our purpose internally. So translated that to agility, if you don't believe in the values of agility itself, then you're not being agile. You're just being a different thing, which is okay as well. Which is okay, but it is you shouldn't.
You're just following a trend, right? So everyone is, so I'll tell that I am, right?
Exactly.
And this will not transform as your organization. So Federico, it was great to have you in AgilityTalks, man. And see you next time. Hope you enjoyed Alma framework.
Yeah, I certainly did. Thanks for having me and for having this conversation. I wasn't expecting it to be this way. You surprised me. So it's really cool. It was, I got more from you than you got from me. So amazing. Thank you for that.
Thanks a lot, man. Here we go.